Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Property AI Report. This is your weekly digest of all things property and AI, brought to you by me, Mal McCallion, and I'm going to be talking about a number of really powerful things this week. We've heard from, in the property sphere, the likes of Reapit, Spectre, and Rightmove, and also the big guns at OpenAI, Gemini, and various other Silicon Valley. I've also released new pieces of tech that it's really important that you have an understanding of. So finally, we've got our weekly tool of the week that's going to help you to, in this case, recruit better. So let's get stuck into our property news. This week in property news, our first story is all about Reapit. Now, Reapit is a CRM system, for those that don't know, that essentially is used by some 25–30% of estate agents in the UK, including some of the big guys like Countrywides, Savills, and so on. And it has been around for a long old time now, nearly 25 years, I think. And most of what it's been doing has been about trying to help estate and lettings agents to match up property and people, all of their applicants, sellers, etc., and the properties that they either live in or want to live in. Now, this week they did a presentation which they called Elevate 24, all about their new pieces of kit for this year. And what really struck me that I wanted to chat about a bit was that for a business that's launching some new features in tech in 2024, the press release that accompanied this event had precisely 0 mentions of AI. Now, for some, that will be a welcome release from the relentless AI showering that every single press release from even your kid's nursery has probably got some AI in it somehow. But for a tech business, particularly a large one like Reapit, to not acknowledge in any of its press releases around this particular event that AI was a thing, I just thought was really strange. And I don't know if perhaps the marketing team didn't get the memo about what is the technology of the minute right now. And not just because I'm very work in AI and very close to what's been going on and have an understanding of exactly what it's going to bring to us. I just think it's a massive miss. And withstanding that, on the same day, Spectre, which is another technology business, historically very focused around generating valuation requests and market appraisals, they released their sort of next gen offerings, which is a complete marketing suite, and they obviously lent into the AI side really strongly. So it's where the question that occurred to me was, is it the case that Reapit just missed this and it's absolutely got AI baked into everything? In which case, why didn't they talk about it? Or is there no real AI kind of strategy within Reapit that is going to help it to address what agents are going to need? And space is obviously one side of the sort of coming technology plays, but there's going to be plenty more. And if it is not seen within Reapit Towers that AI is important enough to lead with for their big reveal of what their tech platform is going to do in 2024, then it just worries me quite a lot that the technology itself is likely to be overtaken by others relatively quickly. Now, it is the case as well that Spectre's sort of sister business, which is called Street, is a relatively new CRM system. We've been going a few years now, and that's got a lot of AI in it as well. So, yeah, I just think from one of the old guard who's been around for a long, long time, that is very well baked into a lot of estate agents' processes and procedures, and indeed is still getting baked into more. I speak to agents all the time, and they're constantly looking around for what's the next big CRM coming down the track, and is it going to be something that they can plug into their systems? And one of the things they really need is both a sales and lettings platform combined. And Reaper is one of the only ones that offers that reliably. And again, speaking to loads of agents, even in the last few weeks, they've been doing sort of beauty pageants of the different CRM systems, including Reapit, Street, others. And Rebit still is one of the most reliable, from particularly on the letting side. So actually knowing that all of the different pieces of property management can be dealt with by one system. But yeah, it just surprised me significantly, and also slightly alarmed me that if people are turning to Rightmove still, because Nobody else seems to have got their lettings packages sorted just now. And there's others coming down the track. Greenhouse is coming too. That's based on Salesforce. But again, from what I understand, the letting side is going to follow a little bit after. So yeah, just in terms of our industry and the technology that is available in it, it does seem that we're still a little bit slow out of the blocks, that there is technology that is being used in plenty of other arenas, plenty of other industries that isn't necessarily available to us in this area. And yeah, Repit's press release and its event, I worry really just reinforces the fact that AI is not seen as important here as it is and as it is seen in pretty much every other industry out there. Our second story this week is about Rightmove. Now, in somewhat of a contrast to Repit, Move did announce some AI last week, and they said that in at least 3 locations, Wrexham, Bath, and Aberdeen, I think, they are going to be doing some AI. That's right. And that AI is going to be an area guide. Essentially, if you look at a particular property on Rightmove, then you have the opportunity at the bottom of the screen to pop up something that is going to tell you all about what Wrexham is like. Now, some of you may consider this to be less than thrilling. And I'm one of those people. So area guides, or the ability of generative AI to summarize what local areas are like, has been around for 2 years now. And there was a rather amusing comment on Property Industry Eye, in fact, this story, basically saying that the best thing that Rightmove could do for us as an agent is stop charging us quite so much and stop making all their products so confusing and that sort of thing, rather than trying to just drive out this relatively small fry kind of development. And the fact they're only doing it in a few areas, and the fact that it seems to be like the big thing that is their sort of nod to AI right now, I think is crazy. Again, this is a business that makes 70% margin. It makes hundreds of millions of pounds a year, and it can only come up with a very light wrapper on in this case is Google Gemini, that essentially just regurgitates what would happen if you asked Google Gemini what Wrexham was like to live in. So yeah, look, it just really reinforces to me just how little these the portal, the Rightmove particularly, is considering innovation, genuine innovation. It's just not there. This is not innovative by Move. It is essentially a repurposing of something that you can go on. Even if you search in your Google search box, you will find information that Google will create via Gemini in its AI overview that essentially will summarize probably exactly what you'll get off Rightmove. So look, the fact that you are looking in Bath and you can find something about Bath at the bottom, courtesy of Google Gemini, is really not a massive, huge, groundbreaking piece of tech. It is just a relocation of something you can find pretty much anywhere else. Yeah, look, again, it's just very disappointing that within the industry, that the actual opportunities for AI to help us are significant and growing, and technology is moving so fast, as we'll see in the next section. But we and the tech businesses that have come to define our industry over the last 20 odd years are really not keeping pace. So yes, there are many others, I'm sure, coming through the ranks, and we look forward to seeing a lot more from them. But at this point, yeah, woefully underserved from some of these businesses that make an absolute fortune from their customers, the estate agents, lettings agents in the industry, and that all they're serving back is some reheated slop is yeah, really disappointing. The third story in our property news this week actually is a little bit more upbeat about tech. JLL have released their Falcon project, which essentially is, I think they're calling it JLL GPT, which amusingly they've put a little trademark around just in case anybody else wanted to use that. But essentially what it is, it's what I really see as being a key area for estate and lettings agents. What they've done is that they put all of their data into one place. And now anybody within the organization, indeed some customers, can query it and find out information that is synthesized from all these different sources and resources. So obviously JLL has been going for a long time. It's got lots and lots of data internally that's proprietary, that's really interesting, that's really helpful. And this I really see as the way that estate agents, lettings agents can help themselves to utilize their data more. We've been doing it, that model prop, with a few agencies out there. And yeah, it just really, if you can imagine having all of your data in one space, including things like your employee handbook, including things like your brand guidelines, what do you do about particular marketing channels like equestrian property, commercial property, all these kind of niche things that somebody in your office knows, or it is written down somewhere, and then you just bring it together in a proprietary database that's AI accessible, that is secure. And obviously, that's really critical as well. That's something that we focus very hard on. And then you can create something that is just unique to you. It can know all about your properties, your current properties. We can load it up with everything from your historic properties as well. It's just a great resource and is going to be, I believe, the way that people are going to be interacting with agencies a lot, and how agencies can prove their differentiation, right? How you can show that you are different. If you've been around for 75 years and you've got data about properties that go back that far, then why not put that into one particular place and let people ask questions about it? So I think it's a really interesting move from JLL. I know they've been developing it for a long, long time. But I think it's a really good example of actually what it is that the market should be doing, that forward-thinking agents should be considering. And obviously, in terms of working with trusted partners to get that done, I think that's a real key way of ensuring that you are respecting the history that you have, understanding what makes the business unique, and then being able to showcase that out into the wider world by using tools like this that really, yeah, that make people want to come and find information from you. You know, if you say search up my dream home, and you've got many more properties sitting in the background that just fit that bill, then it's a beautiful way of getting consumers to interact with you in between moves as well. So really good to see. And again, it throws into sharp relief just what the other guys are doing, and just shows an agency taking matters into its own hands and really leaning into what AI can do. And I think it's brilliant. So that was our property news. Now on to our AI news. So the big news in AI this week was the launch of ChatGPT Search. Now, for those who have a computer and some hands, Google has been the way that most of us have been searching for probably the last 25, 30 years. They did really well at the kind of dawn of digital by creating what they call a page ranking system. The insight they had was, rather than just list everything and get advertisers to push their stuff to the top, what they would do was use the sort of wisdom of crowds. So actually allow people to find information, service information, because of the number of times it linked out to other places linked to it. And basically this website became a source of what they call authority. And that's then spawned this whole kind of SEO, search engine optimization, where everybody would try and be that expert and try and game the system to get higher up the organic rankings. So that was then. Now we have AI. And one of the features of AI, which regular listeners will know well, is that you can ask it a question and it will give you a pretty direct answer. So actually, you don't have to go and plow through all of these extra links and try and find all of the information, then synthesize it yourself, try and work out which ones of these sites are more believable than others, which ones are gaming the system, etc. And then, yeah, and then go to that particular site. So AI essentially takes all of that research bit out and just answers the question. So ChatGPT for a long time has been working on it's what it likes to think, I'm sure, is its Google killer, which is the ability of search to answer questions and to do so in what they call one shot. So it just pops the answer out, and then you can click on that link, and then that is the best link based on all of the evidence available. So the arrival of ChatGPT Search is going to be a huge change. Now, there've been a few kind of precursors to it. Perplexity has done something like this for a little while, and that goes and searches the web and brings you back a kind of 1-2 answer to whatever question you ask. But obviously, ChatGPT has got a huge amount of reach, and people are using it anyway. And already on my paid for ChatGPT service, I've got access to it, and it's awesome. We'll put in the newsletter that goes out every Tuesday. We'll put a link through to a couple of videos that that I've been doing, but yeah, basically just asking it what fireworks displays are on this week and near me. And it just comes back with the answer really quickly and gives me prices and times and all sorts of really interesting and useful and helpful information. And it means that I don't have to sit there and go through Google and try and find this information out through all the separate websites, one for the one in Hemmingford, one for the one in Kimbolton. It just brings them all up straight away. And yeah, and it's in really readable format. As always, we want to try and map this into what does that mean for us in the property industry. I think one of the biggest changes this is going to drive is away from SEO, which is search engine optimization, towards what is now being called GEO, which is generative engine optimization. We, everybody here at Model Prop and elsewhere, are looking at how we can help agents to make sure that they come up high in the answers to a ChatGPT search or a Google AI search or a Perplexity AI search, because that is going to be the new way that you get many more visitors to your website, that you are seen as the authority on whatever it is that whatever area you are, whatever particular property types you're selling, etc. Yeah, it's really interesting because it's so rare that just kind of once a generation you get a fundamental change to how people do the basics. It used to be if you wanted to look for a property, you'd have to buy a newspaper and deal with that curation of properties that your local estate agents would put into the local newspaper. Then it became the portals and online. And now I think there is, again, this kind of paradigm shift, this fundamental move away from even some of the behaviors that you've seen with the portals and so on. And if you can go and search as you can with some of our AI assistants that we've got out on the agents' websites, you can go and search for sea views, or you can go and search for riverside properties or properties with a skylight. And on their websites, you can find that information. You can find the properties that have got that. So if you know you can do that on agents' websites, then surely you're going to start gravitating towards them because they've got the right search answer rather than the historic property portals that tend to have that do have this rather antiquated way of having featured properties and all these kind of paid for services that are of dubious return but make these portals an absolute fortune. And you know, again, speaking to agents as I do, I know that we're entering into Rightmove price hike season coming up into the new year, and it's just going to be fascinating to see how that impacts what they are able to charge. Are they just going to carry on going for this 10, 12, 15% increases, or are they going to acknowledge that AI does change things? It changes why do people need to plow through all of this list of faintly potentially appropriate listings, although perhaps not necessarily, many of which are only there because the agent has been forced to pay significant amounts for their property to appear at the top. I think it's going to be really fascinating. I think that the launch of ChatGPT's search is going to drive a lot of change, a lot of questions. Consumers are going to get used to using this rather than using the more kind of the old school Google searches. And I think that's going to drive behavior where they're going to start to be looking around for sites that allow them to ask very specific questions about three-bedroom properties in a particular location that do have a sea view and are near a train station and also have a car parking space. Those are the kinds of searches that people are going to expect to be able to make going forwards because they can do it everywhere else. And I think that's a huge opportunity for other organizations to just start to find ways of removing some of the dominance of Rightmove over time. And I think that's going to be a really welcome moment for a lot of agents who have historically just been forced to pay whatever Rightmove chooses to charge them. So that's ChatGPT and their search functionality. Now, Google has responded on the same day as the announcement of this, and almost like the kind of the introductions from the about AI from Rightmove and from Reapit from that we talked about earlier, it's talked about what they call grounding. So Google's grounding is going to try and make sure that whatever your search is on Google, it is able to ground it in your preferences and in what you've searched for before. So it's an interesting idea, but it's not really shattering and it's not necessarily going to change the implications of the search that's coming from ChatGPT, but it's a little nice to have, I think, from Google's perspective, and I think that it will probably enrich what Google is able to offer, but I don't think it's necessarily going to nullify what the threat that's coming from ChatGPT search and others going forward. Yes, Google obviously stung by this launch. They've been knowing it's coming for a long time, and this is their kind of punch back, but it's a little bit of a kind of tap rather than a huge swing. It could be useful, but I don't think it's a game changer, and I don't think that it's going to do very much to protect Google from what's coming from ChatGPT. So our third story is about Anthropic's Claude. Now, regular listeners will know that I'm a big fan of Claude. I do think that Claude Sonnet brackets new, which is the one they released a couple of weeks ago, 3.5 new, is really good, really good. It's not multimodal, so it doesn't do things like you can't talk to it and doesn't understand nearly as much images and so on as much as ChatGPT 4.0 does. But if you've got a problem or you've got something you want to talk about and get strategies on or anything like that, then Claude is really good. And it's introduced this new way of coding where it will actually do code analysis directly in Claude. For agents or for lettings agents, it's not necessarily something that is immediately useful. However, what it is likely to do is to drive down the cost of development. And I also think if you look at some of these historic organizations, again, looking at sort of repits and so on, one of the reasons why they're able to charge so much is because the coding that they've got within their systems, that built their systems, was so expensive to access. To build your own CRM system was crazy hard and crazy expensive. But I think now that the cost of coding is coming down so much because these large language models, that the AI is able to help people, even people like me, right? I've written code using Claude and using ChatGPT, and I'm no coder, and yet it has worked. I've been able to do some really cool stuff, finding out information from websites just using a system without having to go into all these individual websites myself. It's a really powerful tool, and I think that it is going to start to chip away at this idea that there are these CRM systems and you must buy the CRM system stack and it will cost you this much, even if you don't use 60% of it. And I think it's going to put back into the hands of agents this power to be much more flexible about their requirements and much more niche and boutique and bespoke about what they want, and then either get a much smaller development team to spin exactly that up, or to be able to find solutions out there that aren't one size fits all. You don't have to take the whole lot. You can go and get little pieces of it and put it together. And I think that's going to be a really interesting development and a really welcome one for agents who have historically had to basically take any color they like as long as it's black from CRM systems and from other technology providers that I think again are going to have to review a lot of what they do and what they charge in an era where coding becomes much more commonplace and much more sort of commoditized. So again, huge steps forwards in that. I think it's going to be even more versatile going forwards, and that this just keeps getting better. The coding just keeps getting better, and it's going to enable so many more people to do it. It's going to democratize it, and I think at that point as well, it's going to mean that the cost of systems is going to come down quite significantly too. All right, that's our AI news done this week, and our final section is all about our tool of the week. So this week's tool of the week is all about how to recruit. So we have from LinkedIn a new hiring assistant product. Now, LinkedIn obviously has become synonymous with recruiting, with finding your next potential hire. All of the recruiters, particularly themselves, use LinkedIn to target individuals and try and bring them to your businesses. Now, hiring assistant is essentially, it looks like on the face of it, a replacement for those services. So essentially, you can go and talk to it about your job requirements. So you can just chat to it and say, I want somebody to do this particular property management role. It's going to be roughly this much salary. I think these are the things we're going to be looking out for in terms of skill set, etc. And it will write that for you. Okay, it will then suggest, ask you about different things, make some recommendations. and it will then enable you to target people who fulfill those particular criteria directly, and you can then use it to help to filter those, to ask them questions, to do that whole process without you having to go too deep into any kind of filtering process yourself. So it should save you a huge amount of time, probably quite a bit of money. So it's a really interesting, and obviously recruitment consultancies have huge benefits and can help take a lot of stress away and shoulder a lot of effort, and know that they've got a lot of candidates as well that they know are really good. However, this must change some of what they do, because LinkedIn is so big, and indeed, as I said, is used by them for much of this activity as well, that actually it's almost a really interesting play to cannibalize its own revenues from LinkedIn, because its recruiters is where it gets so much of its revenue, that actually turning itself into this hiring assistant is going to yes, just change probably how most businesses, not just estate and lettings agents, view that recruitment process. So well worth our look. It's called Hiring Assistant from LinkedIn, and it's a new AI tool that they've got that should help you to find that perfect employee much more straightforwardly, and certainly, I think, much more cost effectively. So that's it for this week from the Property AI Report. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with even more on property and AI. I'm sure it's going to be another huge week. Just with a little bit of looking forwards, we've got the EA Masters this week. So this is being released on Tuesday morning, which will be the morning of the EA Masters. So hoping to see many of you there if you're coming along. We've got a little stand model prop, so do come and say hi. We're actually doing some really cool stuff where you can come and get your AI avatar built for free if you want. So do come and say hello. Love to see you there. Otherwise, do tune in again next week. We'll have all of the download on what happened there. Plus, I'm sure an absolute ton of other news about the world of property and AI. So look forward to catching up then. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week. All the best. Take care. Bye.